Welcome to Deer Head Studios. This is 40 Below Zero, an international podcast about living with multiple sclerosis. I'm your co-host, Nick, and with me as always is my good friend, Terry. We're so glad all of our fellow MS warriors and supporters are here with us, so let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome into the studio again. We have a very special edition of our Warrior Stories episodes, as we like to call them. Terry, how are we today?
I am great, man. Nick, how are you doing today?
I'm actually riding a bit of an up wave. Everything's kind of going a little bit in my favor. I don't want to jinx it. But who do we have today?
Awesome. Yeah, man. Today we have a fellow MSer who's also embarking on a journey cycling across Canada to raise awareness for the MS community. Here's the thing, what I say is raising awareness is the most important thing to me. It's not about raising money, but I'm sure you get all these other people that are going to be like, no, money raising is more important. Not really, because people don't even know what MS is. So this guy is raising awareness for MS, in which people will be like, oh, that's what it is. Awesome. And then that's when they donate. So I think raising awareness, man, is awesome. So Jonathan, thank you so much for being here today. And let's dive into it, man. Why don't you start with how old are you? When did you get MS? What was your first experience with MS?
So can I just start by thanking you, Terry and Nick for letting me join the show. Really a pleasure to be here. Excited to talk to you guys about my story, and just have a little bit of fun. So yeah, no joke. I've already forgotten what the question was, but I think you're asking me who I am. So so my name, Jonathan Allinger, and I'm oh goodness, 39. I'm about to turn 40. It's my big 40 this year, later in July. Looking forward to that. I got diagnosed 10 years ago, 2013, January 2013. Feels like a long time ago, but really not that long ago. So yeah.
How old were
Let's
you?
start with that. How old? Well, 10 years ago. So the math should be easy. So I would have been 29. Just sort of starting my life, really. I had just gotten married the year earlier. I knew I had a little one on the way. I was in the middle of trying to make a transition in my career and get an opportunity to work in Toronto. We moved there later that year, so really just like the start of my life, as I
Yeah,
like
man.
to call it.
That is awesome, man. So first of all, yes, I understand the math is easy. Excuse my fogginess. And another thing I just want to say, 2013, was somebody else diagnosed here in 2013?
Oh yeah, that was a heck of a year, I guess. That's crazy. What were
Awesome.
you doing? You said you had just made a switch in your career.
Well, yeah, so I work for a big bank here in Canada, and I was living in Montreal at the time, and I was on a sort of temporary contract to work in Toronto and just sort of try it out. Montreal office was really small. Toronto, as you may know, is sort of Canada's financial center, and where most of it happens. And so I was looking to make a move to Toronto, more career opportunity, and and I landed a job just a couple of months after I was diagnosed, and so things had been going really well for me. The diagnosis, I would say, didn't come out of nowhere. I knew I had been having symptoms for a while.
Did the job that you were getting know that you had MS or have MS?
So I was stayed within the bank, but that's a really good question and one I want to sort of explore. I don't know if there's enough time for it here, but yeah, the whole question of like being public about it and all of that is hugely important. I know your past guest on this show sort of talked a little bit about that as well. So for me, I was really scared to tell people about it for sure. like what does that mean for my career? Do they still want me? So no, I didn't disclose prior to taking on that opportunity. I was within the same family, for lack of a better term, but I wasn't switching companies. I wasn't really switching, departments. I was in the same sort of group. I was just getting, it was getting an opportunity for growth. And I was getting an opportunity to manage some relationships, and it was really, really exciting for me. But yeah, it was really scary too, because I was needing to put in more time. Like anybody who starts a new job's got to put in some more time, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
like, and
I think the biggest fear that's so common is people start to think you are not efficient enough to do this job, or the second you tell them you have MS, you're on a downhill. And I think that's the biggest fear for everybody. I think even celebrities have that fear. We hear about it all the time, where they hide it for 10 years. I went through that same course, man. I hid it for a long time because I didn't want anyone to think any less of me, you know? Yeah, man. So please tell me, how did you start on this journey of biking? Why biking?
so why am I riding my bike across the country? Why am I not, I don't know, swimming across Lake Ontario? I don't know. That's really dirty water, by the way. I love running too, actually. I took up running in the winter. It's much easier to get a good exercise in running than trying to, especially downtown Toronto. I don't know, but like trying to do a hard workout in the streets of downtown Toronto, not exactly easy. So, why did I do this? I became a cyclist through the MS bike community here in Canada. I think it's called Bike MS in the US, Nick. Um, and I started, really what happened was, when I was diagnosed back in 2013, my friends, like in solidarity to my cause, they sort of took it upon themselves. They said, Jonathan, we're gonna do this MS bike event for you. We're gonna ride our bikes from Ottawa to Cornwall and back, and we're gonna raise awareness. We're gonna raise money for MS for you. And I said, wow, I was really taken aback, because that's huge. Firstly, like, just to know that you've got a group of friends that are willing to do that for you, it was really heartwarming. I unfortunately couldn't join them that year. I think you heard earlier, like 2013 was a big year with everything going on. A month after my son Leo was born, we moved to Toronto, right? And I was in the middle of trying to make all of that happen, and so I wasn't ready for biking that year. But I made a promise to them. I was like, guys, you do this, I will join next year, and I'll do what I can. And I didn't want to break that promise. And so in 2014, I started cycling. It was initially just riding my bike to the office with a friend here in the neighborhood, not far, 5 kilometers there, back. And then it became a bit more, right? It was like just having fun with friends, going a little bit further. It was a way to stay active, which I think, as you guys know, is like critical to physical health. And
How much training is needed for what you're about to do?
yeah, I honestly don't know, Terry. I honestly don't know. That's the truth. The reality is, I spoke with a naturopathic doctor just like last week, and he kind of said, "Wow, okay, and what's your meal plan?" And like, not just during, but like before and after. I'm like, don't worry, man. I got this. Like, I've done 160 kilometers, because my plan was to do 150 kilometers a day for like 45 days with 5 rest days. This is like, I had this big plan, right? Like, I'm sort of pie in the sky. Like, this is my plan. I'm gonna ride my bike. I've got an RV supporting me. I'll take it as I go. I'm fairly like fit. I'm athletic. I've been running. I did a half marathon last year, feeling good about myself. I'm like, I'm just gonna get on my bike. I came back from Spain last year, rode 10 days in a row, 1,000 kilometers, lots of climbing. I
Wow.
was like, I got this. I got this. No problem. All I need to do each and every day is get up and pedal on my bike. That's all I've got to do. I don't have to worry about work. I don't have to worry about my family. All that's, someone else is going to be taking care of that. I just need to get up ride my bike from A to B, and have fun, right? So this is what I'm thinking.
Before I ask the next question, just let everyone know, if you guys want to check him out, it is msbikeacrosscanada.ca. And he is starting on May 7th. Why don't you read about his journey on there? And you can see his crew. He lists a lot of your crews on there that I was looking at. And
Yeah.
a question I have for you before we get into that is, what's your biggest MS obstacle for this ride? Do you have any? Or are you like, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm going to go with it? Because, dude, you have MS.
Yeah. Yeah, that hits home real hard, Terry, because recently, on the last time I chatted with my neurologist, and this is where, like Nick, I'm going to screw up on this podcast with my dates and say that I'm now like, back when I was 25. But anyways, so not the last time I spoke with my neurologist, the first time I spoke with my neurologist this year, Jan 31st, he told me that the most recent MRI was the second MRI in a row that showed progression. And I was on Mavenclad, which is this drug where you sort of take a series of pills for a couple of months 1 year, and then you wait the next year you take another series of pills for a couple of months, and then you just sort of wait and see after that. So I think it's very different from some of the other disease modifying therapies and drugs that are out there on the market daily, drugs, shots, infusions, these types of things. That was very different, right? And so is wait and see. And then this was like, hey, we've seen some progression on your MRIs and we should start you on something new. And by the way, I think you should start on Kazimta. And what do you think about that? And I said, I don't know, like, you're the expert. I didn't come in here knowing that that was the result. Like, I could, because, now all of our patient information, it's online. You just go online, you say, oh, okay, what did the last scan show? What were the notes from the last meeting I had with my neurologist, which, by the way, like, lasted 9 minutes. I had 9 minutes of his time. The guy's in the largest, like, at the time when I came to Toronto, the largest MS clinic in North America here in Toronto. And I think there's 8,000 patients.
Wow.
So this, right, like, it's just like, so I got 9 minutes of his time. It's really tough to have a conversation. And what happened was that it really just set off my anxiety. And so you asked Terry, like, what are my main symptoms? So when I was diagnosed, my symptoms were dizziness. And that's really what got me concerned. And I was struggling with my balance. I had vertigo.
This vertigo, dizziness, is such a hidden thing because nobody sees it. And you're just saying, oh, I'm dizzy today, I have vertigo or whatnot. And that's what we call a hidden illness. Because when you're in a wheelchair, it's like, oh, this guy has issues. But with you, dizzy, oh, just take an Advil, you'll be fine. They don't realize that it's a nerve issue.
That sounds really familiar, actually. When I went to go see the walk-in clinic in Montreal, because, like millions of Canadians, I didn't have a family doctor. And I went to see the walk-in clinic and he said, you're dizzy? Here's some pills. So that's when I knew, like, okay, I need to advocate for myself. Like, this is not going to get me the answers that I'm looking for. Right. So I had to push and I had to push, but no, you're right. And that links in, like, the dizziness, the invisible nature of my symptoms, which are not the same for all MSers, but the invisible nature of my symptoms had led to more difficulty for me in coming out at work.
Okay.
Not necessarily to my friends, not my close friends, because they found out pretty early on. I mean, it took some time. I know everyone's got different stories. I've heard them on this show, some of them. I've heard others throughout the years. I've been an advocate and an ambassador since I got MS. So I've met thousands of courageous people.
Question for you. So when you're on the bike and you're going, you say to myself, the goal is across Canada, and which is it's unbelievable to me because I don't even know the distance, but I'm pretty sure it's a couple thousand miles. How
7,000 kilometers.
Wow.
So what's that, like 6,000 miles, 3,000 miles? I'll have to do the math. So how much does your vertigo and your balance issues get impacted the longer you're on that bike? I know you said you had an
Yeah.
RV behind you supporting. So do you just
Yep.
say, you know what, I got to tap out for the rest of the day?
Yeah. So I mean, good question, Nick. And like this is I've got so much to say, which is why I don't know. Like I don't know what's possible here on this podcast. But well, let me just say this, that like dizziness is just kind of the beginning for me.
Okay.
And most recently, just like the cognitive difficulties as well, the ability to have conversations, all of that. There's some other factors that come in that just make my life stay a little bit more difficult.
Okay.
And I want to talk a little bit about mental health too, because my journey since the January 31st conversation with my neurologist led to a downward spiral and ultimately some real bad issues with my mental health. And that, you know, it's all like it's intrinsically linked, right?
Sure.
Like it's you can't delink these things. I felt like I had it under control, and then I didn't. And you know, with mental health issues, and my sleep and a lack of sleep, it's been really tough to recover. And
Okay.
so what happened, they think that my most recent issues were a flare up and not new symptoms, because I started getting, as a result of a lack of sleep, and then I took a cannabis pill, and I ended up with these new symptoms, and I had this insane sensitivity to light and dizziness, and sorry, light and sound. And I was like, this is new, right? And that just led to further anxiety, because guess what, it's progressing, and I know it's progressing because you told me it's progressing, because there's two scans that said it was progressing, and now I'm having these new symptoms, right? So it just really progressed from there, because I was like, oh shit, I I can't even get out of my room. I was on family vacation. I was like the most terrible person because I didn't leave my room on this family vacation, and I felt guilt, I felt shame, I felt all of these things, and then I started worrying about work. I'm supposed to go back to work. I can't go back to work. I can't even take care of myself.
Wow.
So like the anxiety just kind of unraveled, and it became panic attacks.
Yeah.
And it got really scary real quick.
Yeah, it does.
And anyways, I could go on and on and on, but I didn't. Nick, I don't think I answered your question. I'm sorry. I
It's
apologize.
quite all right. So when you're on the bike, do you find that the monotonous pedaling for kilometers at a shot is helpful to give you a space to process things, or what do you think about when you're on the road? Because you're on the road a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So 10 hours a day, let's say 45 to 50 days, 500 hours again, if my math is right. It's a lot of cycling, a lot of alone time. I don't have any co-cyclists that have signed up to do this journey with me. So you're absolutely right. I'm hopeful. By the way, I know you talked about the website earlier. Like I'm hopeful. The whole point of this is, like Terry said, raising awareness. Part of it is people joining me on this journey, whether it's virtually by blogging, with responding to my blog, my post, whatever, or actually getting out there on their bikes and just joining me in person because they're able to that day and it just works, or they want to do it themselves in their backyard or around the block, and they want to tweet that, whatever. Like this is about the journey with Jonathan Concept, is that, you know what, I might not be able to do this alone. And speaking to the crew that Terry mentioned earlier, oh God, I could cry up about this stuff, because when I talk to people about this, it was really just a dream. It was an idea, but I've got a dozen plus people that have made this a reality. And so I'm not there yet. I'm not in Vancouver. I'm not on my bike. But if this is going to happen, it's because of all these people that have just really stepped up. And so you're right. I'm alone for hours, 500 hours. What am I going to be doing? I don't have an answer to that question. Maybe I'll be listening to one of your podcasts. I don't know. Probably not mine, because I wouldn't want to listen to me, but I'll be listening to audiobooks. I'll be listening to some jams. I'll just be thinking, right? Thinking about what's going on in my life and how I got to this point, how the mental health nearly derailed everything. And it really was that, I felt like I was that close. I have, thankfully, a good support system around me. Some people don't. I've
Dude,
got things that are, I know I have reasons to live. So I've got a son, that he's critical. He's a big part of my why. And yeah.
I hear you, man. You're so humble when you talk. So I just want to remind everyone again that it is msbikeacrosscanada.ca, and that's his Instagram account as well. Reach out to him. And he's starting this journey on May 7th, unless things change, of course. And you're starting in Vancouver, right? And
Yes.
it says that you are ending it in Newfoundland. Man, did I even say that right? Everyone from there is going to really bash on me now. So you say it for me, please. And you're going to end there by June 25th. That's over almost 2 months of riding your bike. I'm tired already. I am done. That's crazy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I
yeah.
don't want to pronounce it for fear that they'll direct the negativity to me, because you know what? I went to Newfoundland last May for the first time. I had never been there. So I honestly yeah, I don't know much about. I spent 5 days near Gross Morin and then this little place called Rocky Harbor. Beautiful. Of what little I saw, it's one of many beautiful places across Canada. I'm so looking forward to seeing the rest of it, right? Like we've got this beautiful country that so many people haven't had a chance to see. And and me included, born and raised in Ottawa, grew up in Montreal half of my youth. And yeah, I lived 1 year in Edmonton when I was real young. I don't remember much about it. West Edmonton Mall, big shout out, but that's it. The rest is just from pictures, not real memories. But I haven't really traveled that much. I've been to Calgary. Sure, I've been to Vancouver before, but like there's so many places in between, and just the beauty of everything. I'm just looking forward to taking it in, right? Like when do people get this opportunity? And that's kind of like the why now, right? And so the genesis of the why now is like, I got the approval from work. This is back in December, but I just kind of sat on it because it was like, okay, I didn't think they'd say yes. Like, who have you heard that works for any organization that says, yeah, take 2 months off, no problem, right? And so I don't know, I was just kind of dumbfounded. And I'm not a project manager, and so I kind of just sat on it. And then January happened, and that conversation and my mental health, and it all started spiraling. And then suddenly it became so much more important. Like, bro, this is what you said you wanted to do this. Like, and why did you want to do this? Why were you wanting to do this early? Well, because you don't know. I don't know if I can do it next year. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. All the people that I've spoken to that have done this type of a journey, and I've spoken to many people because I've met, like I said, maybe thousands is going crazy. Although I did a ride in Texas, Nick, down in Texas. It ended in Austin, Texas BP 150, 13,000 riders. So
Wow.
when I say I met, like metaphorically, but like I've met a lot of people on these journeys. I've done 16 or 17 of these rides, and hundreds of people that I've talked to that have just, incredible stories of in their own right. And
And I even heard you were in close to my backyard. You went down to Atlantic City once. Is that you did that ride?
That's right. Yeah, that was one of my first rides in the U.S. It was a beautiful ride, beautiful ending with the bridge into Atlantic City. So yeah, I met all of these people, and gosh, I forget what the heck were we talking about, guys?
it's all good. I have a question. And you guys probably know this. I haven't heard of this, and now I feel ignorant, but what is the Tour of Champions?
Yeah,
And I
great
heard
question.
you and I were talking before, and you said second one. That's all I remember you saying, second Tour of Champions. And I'm like, what is that? And yeah, go.
So what is the Tour of Champions? So this is in Canada, and so again, I know in the U.S. there's different things, and I'm sure there's different rides all across the world because we're what 90,000 estimated Canadians with MS. Nick, how many Americans?
Pushing a million last I saw.
Okay, so call it 1.1, and then so there's another 1.2 million everywhere else in the world apparently, right? So there's got to be these events all over the place. But in Canada, for the Canadian fundraising events, one the top prize that they give for top fundraisers is an opportunity to go do a ride down south. And that's what the Tour of Champions is. It's the top fundraisers from Canadian MS bike events that are sent down to the US to do a US ride, and we are welcomed like heroes. It is the most inspirational sort of thing that you could ever do. You meet all of these other people that have incredible stories, you know, people that have raised almost $1 million by themselves. Guy by the name of
Wow.
Barry up here in London. Terry, I told you about him. So so you know, all these inspirational people who love cycling, just love cycling, or have their personal connections, or have both. The top fundraisers all have at least both, right? But there's not too many Tour of Champions participants who are not cyclists. Let's just put it that way.
And you did that
But
twice? You did
no,
this?
I six times actually, six
Oh my
times.
God, where did I get
Wow.
twice?
So yeah, so this year is going to be my 10th year doing MS Bike, and I've raised over $110,000 in 9 years, and so I've had a real good streak. I'm really lucky. I've got a great network of people, friends, family, and I've sort of over time initially nurtured that network a lot less as I sort of became a little more secluded, and MS took bigger bites out of my confidence. The anxiety came, and really and I've suffered a lot from that. I think in my story I talk about it being debilitating, and I never really put my finger on how debilitating it was until I had dozens of panic attacks in a week just recently.
So
Whoa.
you have a son, and obviously he has seen you struggle. He must have. You must have had down days. I'm not sure how open you are with what you are going through with him. Does he know? And is he worried that you're about to embark on this journey? Or is he just like, yeah, daddy is strong. He's okay. He's Superman.
Yeah, Leo. We chatted about it actually right before coming on this podcast, because right before coming on the show, because I told him I need, you know, I need some time. And so we talked a little bit about it. Why? Because and I wrote an Instagram post about this morning. Okay, I in preparation, like you guys said, like how do you even prepare for trying to ride your bike across Canada? Well, originally I wasn't worried, but you know, since having all of this stuff happen to me recently, I haven't been very active, and so as you can imagine, now it's seeming a little bit more challenging to ride across Canada. And so I'm just trying to get back. I'm trying to get back on my bike. I'm on my trainer. This morning I did 30 kilometers and I felt really good. I was like, yes, that was a win. 30 kilometers doesn't get me 150 a day for 7 weeks, but it's a start, you know, and I'm feeling good. And then I felt a little bit of guilt later this morning. His mom dropped him off, and so he's here, and it's normally his weekend. And so I said, okay, Leo, we're gonna go to the park. We're gonna grab your friend. We're gonna go play soccer, kick the ball around, and then we'll grab lunch, you know, and then we'll come back. And so we do that. His friend's dad agrees. Yeah, no problem. Meet you at the park. We go. And I told the dad right away, I sort of said, listen, you know, like this is for them. I don't really have the energy. I'm just gonna sit down here on the park bench. He's like, no problem. I told him a little about what's going on. He's like, no, you know, thanks for telling me. That's good, no problem. And then we went out for lunch after about an hour and a half, and you know, all of that, and then the return trip home. this was what, 2 hours ago? I just kind of crashed. I crashed and I said, I pushed too hard.
Something that you say that a lot of people that I've mentioned so many times in my past, and we interviewed someone and I even mentioned it to her, the guilt aspect. And you say guilt, anxiety. Man, I've never had anxiety either. And after getting diagnosed with MS, so many different things come up in my life and anxiety starts to be, elevated. It's just crazy how much anxiety I have. And when you talk about that, I don't know how you don't have crazy anxiety for what you're about to go through. But having a child and, the guilt, that kills me, to be honest with you. And you shouldn't feel guilty for anything. I'm not going to be the one to tell you that. I'm sure everyone else tells you that. But and I hate saying, man, you're an inspiration. I hate saying that whole word. We all hate it. You might not, but I do. I hate when someone says, you really motivate me. You inspire me. Bro, you're inspirational. I'm sorry. But compared to me, you are inspirational. So thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. And I love that you're sharing your journey with us. And you put on your website where you're going to be. I saw some of the, you're going to be in Moncton, Kitchen, whatever. And my town's not there, by the way, which I'm really upset about. I'm not going to tell you what my town is on here, but yeah,
he said he was looking for riders to go with him, Terry.
What is that?
I'm trying to retrofit you a bike for you, Terry. Don't give up yet.
What is that called? A trike?
I think they're called, I don't know. It's a recumbent bike where you sit down and use your hands. That's a real thing. That counts.
Yes. I get it.
Did I see you doing like some exercises on one of your Instagram posts, Terry? Is that possible? Yeah.
Probably not. Oh, are you talking about where I'm just joking around? I'm trying to follow my trainer, do leg exercises.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, this is not happening. No.
Okay. No, listen, I appreciate your thoughts about being inspirational, and I totally get it. I feel exactly the same way as you. I feel very uncomfortable when people start saying these types of things. I'm not trying to be any of that, right? I'm trying to just be true to myself, really. I'm passionate about helping others. I remember someone asking me one day, like, what does that mean? Like, if you want to help others, like, is there something more specific? And it's like, well, this is how I'm going to help others, right? And so when I got diagnosed, I didn't want to just sit on the couch and go like, okay, well, I'm going to wait for other people to sort of find a cure, and I'm going to wait for someone to call me and tell me that I should join a group or whatever. Like, I'm going to get out there. And I just started advocating, and I did what I could with my level of energy at the time. And it sort of ebbed and flowed. Right. And so, I did a lot more initially, and then I went through divorce, and that was a struggle. That was a real time suck and energy suck, let me tell you. But I got to the other side, and here I am. And so I'm trying to push again. Right. And it's like, and I pulled, you talked about the crew on the website. I'm pulling on every lever possible to just, get people to support this, because I think it can be really great. This is about more than me. This is not Jonathan riding across the country. This is about all of us getting out there together, and joining forces, and letting people know what MS is all about. The uncertainty that comes with it, the challenges, visible and some invisible, and having a conversation, right? Where do we go from here?
So much respect for you for doing this, but also for your crew, because yeah, you're the face, but you have a crew that's supporting you. And I love how you give them credit. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people take it upon themselves. Oh, I'm doing this, but you say you couldn't do it without your crew. And how many people do you have beside you on your crew? I know you have a lot of friends and you have us by your side, but your crew, I know I saw you have an RV driver. I'm like, man, he even put his RV driver. Yeah, of course that's important. But what else? I mean, that's crazy. How many people are on that crew?
You know what, Terry, like, I can't put a number to it because it's been growing. There's over a dozen people that have been willing to take time out of their busy days and families and work. I've had people step up in a big way, and it's so heartwarming. And a big shout out to the MS Society too,
MS
MS
Canada.
Canada. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. The rebranding. Sorry, I'm
No, no, no.
still I'm stuck in time. But MS Canada has partnered with me sort of since the beginning, and it's been tough because they've got their own things going on, but what I would say is most important, because I know they don't have a lot of resources, I know they don't have a lot of manpower, but what they did was they believed in me, and they said, you know what, that's a great idea. We'd love to support you in any way, shape, form that we can. And you know what, like, that's what it starts with, is people believing in you. And so, yeah, I don't want to give individual shout outs here, because there's too many people, but there's family there that believe in me. There's friends that have been there since the beginning, since high school.
I totally
There's
understand.
there's people there's people I literally just met, 2 months ago. So there's yeah, yeah,
Like
you
me
like you're
and Nick's.
you're yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
like
You know
us.
what? Honestly, you guys are part of it too, because the more that I've been talking about this, the more I've been able to concisely sort of talk about this journey, and the purpose and the why, right? And I think that is going to be so important once we start trying to talk to media and try to get attention to what we're trying to do here as a team and as a community.
I didn't mean to, in case it come across like that, I did not mean to shame you about the MS Society name. The reason why I corrected you is because I'm usually the one that everybody corrects. I'm usually the one that says MS Society. I mean MS Canada. So the fact that I got to correct you, I was like, yes, my first person. So just in case that's what you thought I was doing.
Well, that's because I don't correct you because it's still the MS Society down here. So
Yeah, it is. Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're trying to distinguish between Canadian and American one.
quite possibly.
Anyway, yeah. This is Jonathan. This is great, man. I wish I can meet you on your stops. If it's possible, I will. I won't lie to you, and I'll be taking a picture with you. And if anybody else meets him, you grab his autograph. Not while he's biking. Let him get off the bike, and then do your thing.
Yeah, not like the Tour de France. I've seen some of those videos and the crashes. Like, what are people thinking, right? Like, you don't want some dizzy guy on a bike, like, like, just get out of my way.
Totally.
I gotta contend with cars and stuff. I don't need no, I'm a shout out to all people who are going to show up and show support, like, I think this is really, it can be a really big thing. I'm inspired a little bit about what Terry Fox did and his journey. And I'm not trying to be Terry Fox. Let's not be ridiculous here. I'm inspired by what he did. And the timing of this is just, it's going to be a real challenge. It was going to be a real challenge before, right? I've done 10 days, but 10 days is not 7 weeks. And so it would have been a real challenge regardless, but now it's going to be more of a challenge, and but it makes it more meaningful, and hopefully that makes the message more powerful, and hopefully it reaches more people.
You're too humble, man.
So speaking of message, the question then becomes that I have is what I asked this a lot. What message would you give yourself from 10 years ago if you could go back and meet yourself? So you're newly diagnosed 10 years ago. What would you say?
Oh man, a lot of thoughts come through my mind, Nick. So you keep me on a straight path here, because I think I want to say, just be kind, be kind to yourself, because it's a real difficult journey. It's a
Okay.
real difficult journey, and there's at times, um, you know you want to say, I got this, right? At what's MS? Someone told me that MS is a chronic illness recently, and I no joke, I was like, what? What do
Hmm.
you mean it's a chronic illness? Like for me, it hasn't been chronic. Like for some reason in my mind, it was like it's sure it's progressive. Like I know, but I'm not there yet,
Right.
right? Like this is denial. Like I'm 10 years in and I'm still like I was like I thought it was long past denial. Like I got it, and then I said you know what, there was this whole campaign back at the time. It was fight or flight, and I was like, no, I'm fighting, man. I joined. I started volunteering, started fundraising. I was like, I came out at the office. I was like, I got this. People got my back. Um, but yet 2 months ago, someone's like, MS is a chronic illness. And I was like, what? So yeah, just be kinder to myself. Would be my main message. Because there's a lot of highs, there's a lot of lows. Like I remember your show where you talked about how it changed your life. Like it changed my life for sure, for the better, 100% too. I categorically, like, there's some things I didn't necessarily agree with on some of your past shows. I'm not gonna lie, but that one was not one. I fully agree. Like it's changed my life for the better. It's saved my life because my life's more meaningful now. I've got purpose. I know what I'm trying to do, and that's really important to me, right? And
It definitely helps you. Definitely, at the very least, it definitely focuses in on the importance of every moment, you know, and
yeah,
and it's very easy to be very, very hard on yourself. We are definitely harder on ourselves than other people. We hold ourselves to a standard we would never hold anybody else to. So that's a good one. Be kind to yourself. I would take that advice from you back then.
I wish I talked about it more when I first got diagnosed. I think I took the diagnosis and I said, you know what, I've been a successful guy. Like I can deal with this. And I kind of internalized it and I said, this is what I'm going to do. I set out my own little plan. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to work out. I signed up for a full year's worth of personal training. Pissed off my ex real bad because she's like, "What? That was a lot of money. 1 full year of personal training. What? Like, at least tell me first, right?" I'm like, "This is my life, right? This is my life. I'm taking care of myself, right?" I was like, "I don't need to talk to people. Like, I got this, right?"
Right. Yep.
But talking to therapists throughout the years, it's like I wish I had talked to someone sooner, because being kind to myself is like a real important part of the journey, right? It's like we need to be kind. I actually, you talked about, like, just before the call, I was talking to my son because I told him I'm gonna jump on this show and I need some alone time, and I actually just I started talking to him about the concept of guilt.
Hmm.
And my son and I, we speak in French to one another, and that's a real
Wow.
something I'm proud of, coming from Montreal. He's born in Montreal. He lived there for all of a month. Um,
See, I didn't even know
uh,
you speak French. That's really cool.
yeah, and so he's in a French school here in Toronto, and his mom speaks to him in English, and I speak to him in French, and that's how. And anyways, talking sometimes about emotions is a little bit more difficult in French for me. I didn't do my schooling in French.
Hmm.
I grew
Okay.
up in and around French environments. My stepdad is a francophone. My stepmom
Mhm.
francophone. So I grew up in a French environment, but I didn't go to French schooling, and so I have to listen to the radio in French here in Toronto to sort of keep myself up to speed. Otherwise, I'm speaking grade 4 French, to my son. And so we're trying to talk about emotions, like, because I wanted to tell him, I wanted to talk to him. You asked me, like, how do you talk to your son? I wanted to talk to him about the guilt that I felt earlier, because he came into the room. I was relaxing after this afternoon at the park, right? And I was trying to relax because I knew I'm coming on this show. I'm going to put out some energy. I need some energy. I know I had to get the coffee, right? But anyways, I'm lying down and he comes in, and and I can tell he's like, I want to do something with dad, and I'm like, "What's up, Leo?" He's like, "Oh, very timid Leo kind of just says, "Oh, I was just wondering if you wanted to play a game. And I'm like, and that's where the guilt comes in, right? And so I said, no, sorry, Leo, like I just need to rest right now. And then 30 minutes later, whatever, 45 minutes before this show, I said, Leo, can we have a quick chat? Like, come here, come back. I want to have a quick chat. What do you want to chat about, Dad? I said, well, and I wanted to chat in French, but I couldn't for the life of me. Where is guilt? What is guilt in French? I couldn't remember. Anyways, so I started talking to him about the guilt I felt when his mom dropped him off this morning, and I was desperate to get him outside, to be active with him, to spend the day with him. And then, him coming in and wanted to play a game after we got back. And I'm like, no, sorry. And so I talked to him, age appropriate, like that
Sure.
he's feeling guilty. This is why, I've got limited energy. I need you to appreciate that doesn't have as much energy right now. It's not always necessarily going to be the case, but right now I just need some time. I'm going to need more time to relax. And he's such a champ. Leo's a champ.
Dude, I feel for you, man. That guilt. I tell you, I've said this to so many people before in my past. I had a dog. It's not even a human. And I've repeated myself, man. The guilt that I went through with the dog, I don't even know what to tell you, man. I am truly like
Yeah. It is
so
it is a
impressed.
very it is a very real thing. You definitely, and it's a very universal thing too, that parents want to give 145% at all times. And when somebody, like me, your 100% isn't the 100% it used to be. Your 100% is actually like 63% of what it used to be. I know that there have been a bunch of analogies with spoons in a drawer and water in a pool. Like there's a whole bunch of things out there to talk about how much energy you don't have. But when you compile the getting older with the getting slower, when you add all that stuff up, you really look at yourself in a light that's not fair. Cause I know I do it all the time. I look at myself in a 30-year-old light when I'm 10 years past that. So I don't have nearly the energy I used to. And that's just, a normal part of getting older, sped up by the fact that the neurons fire weirder and faster than most other people. So I think the guilt rides with the being kind. You feel the guilt because you're not being kind to yourself. And the kids are understanding. They get it better than we do. They're like, okay, we get it. Like same with me. Dad's not feeling 100% right now. So we can't go do whatever the thing is. We have to wait till tomorrow because Dad's run out of energy. And but that's the thing. The guilt rides in with that standard. So you have to like reframe it kind of. I know I can't do it 100% of the time. I still feel it too and my girls are older. So, but they weren't when I first got diagnosed, So
Yeah.
yeah, I get it, man.
We can relate. And for me being divorced, when that really hurt me, because it ripped apart my white, my perfect suburban house with the white picket fence, a version of this sort of, successful life. And my parents were divorced, and I missed not having my dad around, and so me thinking, oh shit, like Leo's not gonna have his dad all the
Right.
time. That killed me, and so I struggle, like from day one. I was like, I am going to give this kid 120%, like you said, 140% of
Yep.
my time. When he's with me, he's gonna have a blast. We're gonna
Yep.
have awesome fun each and every time. And so yeah, it hurts so much more
Yep.
when I can't, right? And so, anyways, we all have our little stories, but that one hits real hard for me. And being kind to myself is acceptance, right? The acceptance. I'm
Yep.
working through that a little bit, working through the acceptance. It's been tough. I like to control things that are going on, and when you have MS, there's not a whole lot that you're controlling. So you gotta be accepting of what's coming.
Really
Absolutely.
quickly, you mentioned earlier, um, almost like you were being selfish or you were taking care of yourself, right? You were saying you were taking care of yourself. Man, that's self-care. That's not selfish. And I used to say that all the time. I used to say, "Hey, I'm going to be selfish right now. I'm sorry." Don't be sorry. That's not selfish. That's self-care. That's self-love. You take care of yourself, man. You have to. So, anyway, I don't know why I went there because earlier you were mentioning, you know,
No, you're absolutely right, man. No, it's we doubt ourselves, I think, right? And so we got to bring ourselves back. And no, you're absolutely right. Self-care is super important. And yeah, there was this concept in some book, I can't remember which one it was that I listened to, where like again, the concept of self-care is about making your life easier tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this one concept I want to make sure I talk about because like when we talk about analogies, but like the self-care for tomorrow concept is important to me because it speaks about the uncertainty. Because for me, and again, the urgency of doing this right now comes to not knowing what's possible tomorrow and always wanting to give 100% of what I've got today. And some people don't understand that concept. They're like, well, why are you pushing so hard? Well, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do tomorrow. Today, I can push hard. So I'm pushing, right? Tomorrow, I don't know. That's the uncertainty. I know, like it's tough. It's tough to explain, but that I think that's a pretty common element for the MS community is we just don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And some people, the days are all over the place too. I know mine's been like that when I've got a flare up like what I'm in the middle of. I don't know what my day is going to look like. I can't even commit to things during the day because it's just so uncertain. And I don't know why, but there's this analogy. There's this water park. There's this water slide at a water park. Actually, it's a couple water parks. Leo and I, we went. I took him to on a Caribbean cruise this past January, and there was one of the rides there. There's actually one near Ottawa as well, a little bit closer to home. Maybe I'll speak to that one since we're talking to people in Canada and the U.S. here. There's one near the nation's capital in Ottawa here, where the water slide is essentially you get in this tube, and you have a glass door that shuts on you. And then, so I don't know if do you guys know what I'm talking about here, or am I just like,
Yeah, I've
no,
seen it. I've seen it on YouTube. I know you
okay,
standing up and the door kind of comes across your face and then they just drop you out. Is
yeah,
that
yeah. Well,
okay?
so
Yeah.
so so that's exactly so. Nick, you got it. Maybe it's not that important, but for some reason it feels important about speaking to the uncertainty because if you've ever been on that ride, there's 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 the uncertainty of what's going to happen when that floor drops. You can see other people get in it, you can see what happens to them, but until you get in there, you don't know. And then the cool thing about that ride is that, at least for me, and this I don't know why, this is why I love it, because I go in there and I tried it the first time, it scared the living fucking hell out of me. But I got to the bottom and I was like, I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. I bungee jumped before. So this thing was like, wow, that was awesome. Right. And I went right back up. Okay. But like for me, the analogy of having MS is getting in that thing and the anxiety of holy crap, what's gonna happen to me? And then getting shot down that tube and just being a brutal, brutal journey. Yeah, and you just don't know when it's going to end. And so that's kind of what happened to me recently. And the mental health spiral is I had started having symptoms, and I thought about progression, and then boom, where does it end? Where does the floor, like, where does it stop? You know,
Yeah.
it was real scary. And so I don't know why I think about that slide, but that slide for me is like, I love it because I know what it feels like, and I know it's a rush, but I know there's an end. And MS, you have no idea what's coming. You don't know where the next step down is. And
Very
it's
true.
real scary
It's
at
like
times.
it's like riding a roller coaster blindfolded. I don't know why. When
Yeah.
you said that, you're like, I don't know where the ups and downs are. I don't know when it's gonna end. And in a roller coaster, you're like, what's going on now? Oh, we're going upside down. So yeah, I get it, man.
Anyways, I don't know why that was important to me,
It is.
but listen,
Great
it just
analogy.
felt like
It is.
it was relevant. I'm grateful, guys. Like, I honestly, I wanted to start. I totally forgot because I didn't write any notes, and I don't like being scripted, so I don't jot down notes. And this whole project has been jotting notes on random pieces of paper that I like. I don't know what to do with them, right? But I wanted to start and say, no, I wanted this to be like very like optimistic. I want this to be positive. Like, I don't want it to be, because it can be, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just
Nope.
that you can't stay there, right? And I don't want to leave people with this message that, oh, this is real negative, because it's not, because it can be life changing, because there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that's what this journey is about. It's about bringing hope. The $1 million fundraising goal, it's not a typo. Like,
Wow.
this is aspirational. This is about what people need: hope. And there is hope out there. When I got diagnosed 10 years ago, there were many less options for people,
Sure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
right? And 20 years before that, there were even less. It was
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like, you had MS,
Good
like,
luck.
go home and good luck. And so today, I think in Canada, I know in the US it's different, but like, we've got 20 options. So anyways, there's lots of great things happening in the community. You guys know all about it. Um, Hopefully the listeners read up a little bit more about it after this show. There's just so many good things going on. We just need more. We need more
Sure.
happening. We need more positive messages in this community, because people are suffering.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of why we do this. We kind of want everyday people to know that everyday people are going through exactly the same thing. So let's hear from them. As we wrap it up, I got one last question. What is on your playlist while you ride? What are we listening to?
I just listen to, like, oh man, I just listen to top 40 stuff. Like, there's
Top 40?
no,
Okay.
yeah, I'm such a, I know it's real bad. I don't, back in the day, I used to download. I remember, like, those 56K modems, and you'd download songs, and like, and I had like I had so many different things, but now it's just, I turn on the radio.
Okay.
So a shout out to my friends in Ottawa there, Hot 89.9, or here,
That's
in
great.
Montreal, Mix 96. Here's some free,
That's
some
great.
free, yeah, yeah. Anyways.
I heard your favorite band is Ace of Base. Is that true? I'm sorry. All right,
Oh
let's move on.
no, 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 no,
All right,
no.
let's move
Terry,
on.
hit
No,
us with the
but
info for the ride again.
Awesome. So this is Jonathan Allinger, and if you want to check out his website, it's msbikeacrosscanada.ca. He's starting his journey on May 7th at Vancouver. Please contact him if you want to reach out to him. Again, he's raising awareness at the it's really crucial what he's doing in my life, because awareness is what I'm all about. So
Yep.
man, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Where can they donate?
The donation is MS Canada. I believe on his website he has a
yes,
donation button. So it's as easy as that.
Cool.
And we don't care. No one cares how much you donate. It's not about the money. Okay. We appreciate anything anybody can do. I appreciate, man, you doing this to help raise awareness. Really, I do. And yeah, and on our Instagram account, which is the 40 Below Zero Instagram account, I will be putting up the guests as posts on there so that people can see who he is and it'll help you guys reach out to him if you need to reach out to him.
Perfect. Well, Jonathan, thank you so very much for taking the time today. We appreciate that. Terry?
Awesome. What a great show, man. Thank you so much for being here.
And guys, just one last thank you to you both for what you're doing. I think it's incredible. Like having MSers on your show, just real life conversation. I think it's fantastic. I thank you both for what you do, for having me on. I feel grateful. And looking forward to a future with no MS. So let's do it together as a community. And thanks.
And like I always say, man, you're part of the family now. Sorry. Unless
That's it.
MS gets cured, but I'm pretty sure we'll always have this bond, So
Yeah, we're here, man. I'm with you. You guys are bros. So thanks a lot, Terry. It's been so fun chatting with you, even just over the last number of days. What a cool connection. I couldn't believe it, the number of similarities. It's shocking. But Nick, same, I feel really connected, and if I'm ever back in that area, I'll make sure to look you up and
absolutely,
and get together. All right.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. Jonathan, thanks for sharing your story and chatting with us today. Terry, as always, it's been awesome.
Awesome.
And we'll talk soon.
For sure. Take care.